Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck of Luna Base and watched another alien ship leave Earth's orbit. The sleek vessel looked like a silver teardrop against the black sky. Inside that ship were 3 Vorthak traders who had spent 2 days on Earth buying what they called primitive art and curious human tools. The aliens always smiled when they talked to humans. Not friendly smiles, but the kind of smiles adults give to children playing with toy swords. Hyunwoo had seen that smile too many times in his 30 years with the Earth Defense Force. Another successful trade mission, Captain Jisoo said as she joined him at the window. Her voice was bitter. They bought 12 paintings, some old books, and a set of kitchen knives. Paid us enough rare metals to power the lunar colonies for a month. They think we're pets, Hyunwoo replied. He turned away from the window. 300 years, Jisoo. For 300 years they've kept us locked in our own solar system like animals in a zoo. The barrier was invisible, but it was real. Any human ship that tried to leave the solar system simply stopped working. The engines would shut down, the computers would freeze, and the ship would drift until an alien patrol found it. The aliens called it protection. They said young species needed time to grow up before they could join the galaxy. But Hyunwoo knew the truth. Earth was a curiosity shop for bored alien tourists. Jisoo pulled out her tablet and showed him the latest reports. The Naxari Collective opened 3 new trade routes this month. The Vorthak Empire just colonized another star system. The galaxy keeps growing, and we're still stuck here. Are we? Hyunwoo asked. Jisoo gave him a strange look. What do you mean? Come with me. Hyunwoo led her down through the base's lower levels. They took an elevator that required his personal code, then walked through corridors that didn't appear on any official maps. Finally, they reached a door marked Storage Bay 7. Inside was not a storage bay. Dr. Taemin looked up from a workbench covered with alien technology. The pieces didn't match. Vorthak crystal matrices sat next to Naxari energy cores. Fragments of Kellyan metal were being fused with human steel. It looked like a mad scientist's laboratory. Admiral, Taemin said with a tired smile. Perfect timing. I just finished the analysis on that power cell the traders brought yesterday. Show Captain Jisoo what you found, Hyunwoo said. Taemin picked up a small blue crystal. The Vorthak used these to power their ships. Very efficient, very stable, but look at this. He connected the crystal to a human-built device. The crystal began to glow brighter. We can make them work 30% better than the original design. Jisoo stared. How is that possible? Because the Vorthak designed them to be safe, Taemin explained. They were afraid of accidents, so they built in limits. But we studied those limits, we found ways around them. He gestured at the workbench. Every piece of alien tech we've ever seen, we've improved it. That's not all, Hyunwoo said. He led Jisoo to another section of the hidden laboratory. Here, technicians were working on something that looked like a weapon. Show her the targeting system. A young engineer named Soo Jin activated a holographic display. This uses Naxari energy manipulation combined with Vorthak crystal processing and human adaptive programming. We can track and target any known alien ship design. Jisoo felt her hands shake. How long has this been going on? Since the beginning, Hyunwoo said. Since the first day they locked us in here and told us we weren't ready for the galaxy. They walked deeper into the facility. Jisoo saw workshops, where human scientists were building impossible things. She saw test chambers where new alloys were being created. She saw computer banks that held the complete technical specifications of every alien ship that had ever visited Earth. My God, she whispered. We've been studying them. Every ship, every trader, every diplomat, Hyunwoo confirmed. They think we're children playing with blocks. They never bothered to hide their technology because they assumed we couldn't understand it. In another room, Daeyeon sat surrounded by communication equipment. Screens showed alien text in dozens of languages, and every few seconds, new messages appeared. We intercept everything, she explained when she noticed Jisoo watching. Every military frequency, every trade negotiation, every government communication. The aliens use quantum encryption, but they made one mistake. What mistake? Jisoo asked. They assumed no one outside their civilization was smart enough to break it, Da-un said with a cold smile. It took us 50 years to crack the first code. After that, it got easier. Now we can read their mail before their own people do. Hyunwoo led Jisoo to the facility center, where a massive holographic display showed the entire galaxy. Thousands of star systems were marked in different colors. Trade routes appeared as glowing lines between systems. Military positions were marked with red symbols. We know everything, he said. Ship movements, military capabilities, economic weaknesses, political tensions. The aliens share information freely because they think we're too primitive to understand it. Jisoo studied the display. This is incredible, but what's the point? We're still trapped here. Are we? Hyunwoo asked again. He touched a control, and the display changed. New markers appeared throughout human space. Dozens of them hidden in asteroid fields and behind moons. These are construction sites, Jisoo. We've been building. Building what? Before Hyunwoo could answer, an alarm sounded. Da-un called out from her station. Admiral, we're getting emergency broadcasts from the Galactic Council. Something about a major decision involving Earth. The main screen switched to show an alien news broadcast. The translator worked smoothly, another piece of primitive human technology that worked better than the alien original. The news anchor was a Vorthak with crystal skin that sparkled under the studio lights. The Galactic Council announced today that the Terran solar system has been selected for resource extraction. The primitive human species will be relocated to a suitable reservation world to make way for mining operations. Council members expressed confidence that the humans will understand this is for the greater good of galactic civilization. The room went silent. When? Hyunwoo asked. Da-un checked her screens. They're giving us 6 months to prepare for voluntary relocation. And if we refuse? Forced relocation. Da-un's voice was steady, but her hands were clenched. They're sending a joint fleet of 12 species to oversee the operation. Jisoo felt the world spinning around her. They're going to destroy our world. No, Hyunwoo said quietly. They're going to try. He walked to a secure terminal and entered a long code. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, machines that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. Systems that had been tested in secret started their final activation sequences. In hidden shipyards throughout the solar system, construction crews received orders they had been waiting centuries to hear. Sir, Soo-jin said from her workstation, all facilities are responding. The Leviathan project is beginning final assembly. Jisoo looked around the room at the faces of her fellow humans. These people had spent their entire lives preparing for this moment. While the galaxy saw Earth as a backwater zoo, humans had been building something unprecedented. What happens now? She asked. Hyunwoo smiled. And for the first time in years, it wasn't the bitter smile of a caged animal. Now we show them why. We never tried to break out of our cage. I don't understand. We weren't trapped, Jisoo, we were hunting. The alien ships arrived like a plague of metal insects. Commander Dong-hyun watched them through his telescope from the military base in Australia. They weren't warships. They were something worse. They were mining vessels, huge and ugly, designed to strip planets down to their cores. How many? Asked Lieutenant Bo Young, his communications officer. 47 so far, Dong-hyun replied. And they're just the advanced team. The ships took positions around Earth's outer atmosphere. They didn't hide their intentions. Each vessel was the size of a city, equipped with matter disintegration beams that could reduce mountains to dust in minutes. The aliens had brought equipment to empty Earth's oceans, harvest its atmosphere, and crack its crust open like an egg. On the main screen, a message appeared in perfect English. The translation was so smooth it was insulting. The aliens didn't even think humans deserved the effort of learning their real language. Greetings, Terran natives. We are the Resource Extraction Fleet. You have been selected for relocation to preserve your species during necessary mining operations. Prepare your population for transport. Compliance is appreciated. Resistance is futile. Dong-hyun turned off the screen. Send that to Earth Command. Tell Admiral Hyun-woo we have confirmation of hostile intent. While the mining fleet positioned itself around Earth, the real decision was being made millions of kilometers away. Ambassador Yuna sat in the Galactic Council chambers, trying not to show her anger as alien representatives discussed humanity's future, like they were planning a garbage pickup. The council chamber was massive, built to hold delegates from hundreds of different species. Yuna was the only human in a room full of beings who considered her a primitive curiosity. She sat in the section marked Protected Species, alongside representatives from 3 other civilizations that were considered too young for full membership. The motion to relocate the Terran population passes by a vote of 847 to 1, announced the council speaker, a floating jellyfish-like creature whose voice came from mechanical translators. The single opposing vote is noted and dismissed as irrelevant. Yun-ah stood up. I demand to know who voted against this motion. The council chamber fell silent. Several alien delegates made sounds that the translator identified as laughter. The Keeper delegation abstained from voting. The speaker replied. Their reasoning is, as always, cryptic and unhelpful. In the back of the chamber, hidden in shadows, the single Keeper delegate remained silent. The Keepers were the oldest known species in the galaxy, but they rarely spoke and never explained their actions. Other species tolerated them because they were harmless and occasionally provided useful advice. What did they say? Yuna asked. The speaker consulted his records. The Keeper delegate said, and I quote, "Some cages are not meant to hold prisoners. Some cages are meant to protect the galaxy from what grows inside them." More laughter from the alien delegates. Keeper poetry, said a Vorthak council member dismissively. They always speak in riddles. It means nothing. But Yuna saw the Keeper delegate shift slightly in the shadows, and she had the strange feeling that someone was watching her with very old, very careful eyes. The council session ended with humanity's fate sealed. Yuna walked out of the chamber knowing that her people had 6 months to prepare for the end of their world. What the aliens didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for much longer than that. Back on Earth, Dr. Wubin stood in the underwater facility beneath the Mariana Trench. The place had been built in absolute secrecy over the past 2 centuries. It was deeper than any alien scanner could reach, protected by natural pressure that would crush most alien ships, and completely invisible to orbital surveillance. Status report, he said to the assembled team. Engineer Soo-jin brought up a holographic display showing the construction project that had consumed humanity's resources for generations. The Leviathan is at 97% completion. We need 72 more hours for final system integration. What about the support fleet? Asked Dr. Wubin. 36 vessels completed and fully operational, reported Captain Minho. All equipped with integrated alien technology and human improvements. Each ship is more advanced than anything in the known galaxy. Soo-jin activated another display. The Leviathan itself is beyond anything the aliens can imagine. We've combined Vorthak crystal technology with Nixari energy manipulation, Kellian metallurgy, and 17 other alien technologies. But the real advantage is our human innovations. She showed them weapon systems that had no equivalent in alien fleets, adaptive shields that learned from each attack and became stronger, targeting computers that could predict enemy movements based on psychological profiles, power systems that drew energy from quantum fluctuations in space itself. The aliens shared all this technology with us, Soo-jin continued. They let us study their ships, examine their weapons, and analyze their defenses. They thought we were too primitive to understand any of it. Instead, we understood all of it, said Dr. Wubin. And we made it better. The truth was that humanity had advantages the aliens never suspected. Human scientists thought differently than any known alien species. Where aliens saw limits, humans saw challenges to overcome. Where aliens built safety margins, humans built performance enhancements. Where aliens followed rules, humans found ways around them. Sir, called out Daeun from her communication station. I'm picking up alien military transmissions. They're not even trying to encrypt them. What are they saying? They're treating this like a training exercise, Daeun replied. The fleet commanders are joking about how easy the job will be. They're calling it pest removal. Dr. Wu Bin studied the alien transmission logs. The aliens were bringing 12 species together for the operation, but they weren't coordinating properly. Each species was using its own communication protocols, its own tactical systems, and its own command structure. They had never needed to work together against a real threat, so they had never learned how. "They're making mistakes," he observed. "Every mistake they've ever made," agreed Captain Minho. "We've been studying their military tactics for 3 centuries. We know how each species fights, how they think, and what weaknesses they try to hide." On the main display, intelligence reports showed the alien fleet assembly points. The Vorthak were bringing crystal ships that relied on energy shields. The Nexari were contributing living vessels that could regenerate damage. The Kellians had mechanical ships with advanced armor. Each species was proud of their unique advantages. "They don't realize they're fighting an enemy that knows all their secrets," said Sujin. "More than that," added Dr. Wu Bin. "They're fighting an enemy that has spent centuries turning their own advantages against them." In orbit around Earth, the alien mining fleet continued its preparations. The ships moved with casual confidence, their crews making no attempt to hide their activities. They set up orbital platforms, deployed mining satellites, and began scanning Earth's surface for the most efficient extraction points. What they didn't notice was that every scan they performed was being intercepted and analyzed. Every communication was being recorded. Every ship movement was being tracked and predicted. Deep in the Pacific Ocean, something vast stirred to life. The Leviathan had been built in sections over 200 years. Each piece had been constructed in different locations, using materials that couldn't be traced to any single source. The ship was so large that its gravity well affected ocean tides, but it had been hidden so deep that no alien sensor could detect it. Now, for the first time in centuries, all systems were coming online simultaneously. "Hull integrity at 100%, reported Sujin. "Weapon systems responding normally," added Captain Minho. "Shield generators stable," confirmed another technician. Dr. Wu Bin watched the status displays as humanity's ultimate creation, prepared for its first and only mission. The Leviathan wasn't just a ship, it was a statement. It was proof that humanity had never been the primitive species the galaxy believed them to be. "Sir," Daun called out urgently. "New transmission from the alien fleet. They're giving us a final ultimatum." On the screen, the alien fleet commander appeared. He was a Vorthak with crystal skin that sparkled like diamonds. His voice was condescending and bored. "Terran natives, you have 1 planetary rotation to begin evacuation procedures. Any attempt at resistance will result in immediate forced relocation. Your compliance is required, not requested." The transmission ended. Dr. Wu Bin looked around the control room at the faces of his fellow humans. These people had dedicated their entire lives to this moment. They had worked in secret, hidden from their own families, preparing for the day when humanity would reveal its true nature to the galaxy. "Open a channel to Admiral Hyunwoo," he ordered. On the screen, the Admiral appeared from Luna Base. Behind him, Jisoo and the rest of Earth's military command watched with grim expressions. "It's time," Dr. Wu Bin said simply. Admiral Hyunwoo nodded. "All stations report ready. The support fleet is in position. Are we ready to show the galaxy what we really are?" "We've been ready for 300 years, Dr. Wu Bin replied. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, the Leviathan began its rise toward the surface. Above, the alien fleet waited with supreme confidence. The morning of humanity's last day began with perfect silence. Captain Minho stood in the Leviathan's command center, 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, and watched the countdown timer reach 0. Around the world, similar timers were reaching the same moment in hidden bases and secret facilities that had existed for centuries without the aliens ever knowing. Above them, the alien fleet hung in Earth's orbit like vultures. 3,000 ships from 12 different species, enough firepower to destroy 100 civilizations. They floated in loose formations, their crews relaxed and confident. Some aliens were probably placing bets on how quickly the humans would surrender. "All systems green," reported Su Jin from her engineering station. The Leviathan is ready for ascent. Fleet positions? Asked Minho. Lieutenant Bo Young checked her tactical displays. Support vessels are in position throughout the solar system. The aliens still haven't detected any of them. That was the beauty of human innovation. While alien ships relied on energy signatures that could be detected from light years away, human vessels used technology that bent space around them. They weren't invisible. They simply convinced reality that they weren't there. Communication. From Admiral Hyunwoo, announced Da-Yun. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, the command center at Luna Base was filled with officers who had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. All stations report ready, Hyunwoo said. Earth Defense Force is standing by. Are we ready to make history? Minho looked around the Leviathan's bridge. Every station was manned by humans who had trained for this day since childhood. These weren't just soldiers. They were the culmination of 3 centuries of human determination. We're ready, sir, Minho replied. Then let's show them what we really are, Hyunwoo said. All units execute Operation Rising. The first thing that happened was the ocean exploded. The Pacific Ocean didn't just part. It erupted upward in a column of water that reached into space. Satellites around the world recorded the impossible sight of millions of tons of seawater, forming a pillar that stretched from the ocean floor to the edge of the atmosphere. From inside that pillar, something emerged that changed everything. The Leviathan rose from the depths like a mountain given life. 15 kilometers long and 5 kilometers wide, it was less a ship than a mobile world. Its hull was black metal that seemed to absorb light, covered with weapon systems that belonged in science fiction stories rather than reality. But it wasn't just the size that shocked the galaxy. It was what the ship represented. Alien ships are responding, reported Bo Young. They're breaking formation and moving to attack positions. On the tactical display, the alien fleet scrambled like insects. Alarms were sounding on 3,000 ships as crews tried to understand what they were seeing. The primitive species they had come to relocate had just produced a vessel that dwarfed their largest battleships. They're trying to communicate. With us, said Da-Un. Multiple frequencies, all demanding explanations. Let them wait, Minho replied. Jae-won, are the weapons ready? Chief Tactical Officer Jae-won activated his control systems. The Leviathan's weapon arrays came online with a sound like thunder rolling through deep space. Each weapon system combined technologies from multiple alien species in ways that no single species had ever imagined possible. Target the scout fleet, Minho ordered. Let's start with something small. The scout fleet consisted of 200 fast ships positioned at the edge of Earth's gravity well. They were meant to intercept any human vessels trying to escape the planet. Instead, they became humanity's first demonstration. The Leviathan fired once. The weapon wasn't a beam or a projectile. It was something fundamentally new, a distortion in space itself that reached out and simply removed the scout fleet from existence. 200 alien ships vanished in the same instant, leaving behind only empty space and expanding clouds of particles. Direct hit, reported Jae-won. Scout fleet eliminated. The alien response was immediate and predictable. Every ship in the combined fleet opened fire on the Leviathan simultaneously. Energy beams, particle weapons, and kinetic projectiles filled space around Earth like a deadly light show, and accomplished nothing. The Leviathan's shields absorbed the attack without even flickering. The shield technology was based on Nexari, energy manipulation, but humans had improved it beyond anything the Nexari had ever imagined. Instead of just blocking attacks, the shields learned from them, adapted to them, and became stronger. Shield efficiency improving, reported Sujin. We're at 112% and rising. Sir, called out Bo Young from her sensor station, I'm detecting communication between alien fleet commanders. They're requesting emergency reinforcements. How many reinforcements? Asked Minho. All of them. They're calling for every available ship in this sector of the galaxy. Minho smiled grimly. The aliens still didn't understand what they were facing. They thought this was a problem that could be solved with more ships and bigger guns. They had no idea that humanity had been planning for exactly this response. Signal the support fleet, he ordered. Time for the second surprise. Throughout the solar system, space began to change. Behind asteroids, inside gas clouds, and in the shadows of planets, 36 ships decloaked simultaneously. Each vessel was smaller than the Leviathan, but still massive by alien standards. More importantly, each ship was equipped with weapon systems that the aliens had never seen before. "Support fleet is online," reported Bo Young. "All vessels are in attack positions." The alien fleet found itself surrounded. Ships that had appeared from nowhere were suddenly everywhere, forming a perfect tactical cage around the invading force. What had seemed like a simple extermination mission had become a trap. "This is impossible," came a transmission from the alien flagship. "Humans don't have space technology. Your species is primitive." Minho opened a communication channel to the entire alien fleet. His face appeared on every ship's screen simultaneously, another trick that alien communication systems couldn't match. 300 years, he said simply. "For 300 years you've visited our world. You've sold us your technology, shared your knowledge, and shown us your weaknesses. You thought we were children playing with toys. You never asked why we didn't try harder to escape our cage." On the tactical display, more alien ships were arriving from across the galaxy. The fastest vessels from 6 different species had responded to the emergency call. They emerged from hyperspace expecting to find a primitive species being punished for their arrogance. Instead, they found their own fleets trapped and helpless. "The answer is simple," Minho continued. "We weren't trying to escape, we were hunting." The second wave of human attacks began. This time, it wasn't just one ship firing. The entire human fleet opened fire simultaneously, using coordinated tactics that the aliens had never encountered. Each human vessel targeted specific alien ship types using weapons designed specifically to exploit their known weaknesses. Vorthak crystal ships found their hulls resonating at frequencies that tore them apart. Nexari energy beings discovered that their living ships could be trapped in containment fields based on their own technology. Kellyan mechanical vessels learned that their advanced armor could be turned into conductors for attacks that fried their internal systems. "Enemy casualties are mounting," reported J1. "We're seeing complete system failures across multiple ship classes. But the real weapon wasn't the technology. It was the psychology." Across the galaxy, other alien civilizations watched the battle through their communication networks. They saw their most advanced fleets being systematically destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive animals. They watched impossible human ships using combinations of technology that shouldn't exist. Most terrifying of all, they saw that humans weren't just winning, they were playing with their enemies. "Sir," said Da-Un urgently, "we're receiving communications from alien governments across the galaxy. Trade routes are shutting down. Military fleets are returning to home systems. Several species are calling emergency government sessions." Minho nodded. This was exactly what humanity had planned for. The goal wasn't to conquer the galaxy. It was to break the galaxy's confidence in its own superiority. "Signal Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell them Phase 1 is complete." On Luna Base, Admiral Hyan Wu watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. The alien fleet was in complete disarray. Ships were fleeing in all directions, abandoning their mining equipment and evacuation orders. The ones that stood and fought were being systematically eliminated by human vessels that seemed to anticipate their every move. "Sir," reported Captain Jisoo, "we're receiving surrender requests from multiple alien commanders." "Denied," Yun Wu replied immediately. "This isn't about accepting surrender. This is about teaching the galaxy a lesson they'll never forget." In space around Earth, the lesson continued. Human ships moved through the alien fleet like predators among prey, destroying some vessels completely while disabling others just enough to send them limping home. Each action was calculated to create maximum psychological impact. The aliens had come expecting to relocate a primitive species. Instead, they discovered that the primitive species had been studying them for centuries. The galaxy burned with panic, but not from weapons or war. It burned from fear. Strategic Officer Yunji stood in the Leviathan's intelligence center, watching civilization collapse through 1,000 different screens. Each monitor showed a different alien world, and on every single one, the same thing was happening. Complete social breakdown. Trade routes are shutting down across 17 sectors, she reported to Admiral Hyunwoo, whose image appeared on the main communication screen. Stock markets on 43 worlds have collapsed completely. 6 major shipping corporations have declared bankruptcy in the last 4 hours. Military response? Asked the Admiral. That's the interesting part, replied Yoonji. There isn't one. Every alien fleet is retreating to home systems. They're not trying to organize a counterattack. They're preparing to defend their own worlds against us. The truth was even more devastating than humanity had planned. The galaxy hadn't just lost a battle. It had lost its confidence in everything it thought it knew about the universe. For 300 years, alien civilizations had built their entire understanding of galactic hierarchy on one simple fact. They were advanced, and humans were primitive. Every alien child learned in school that the species in the Sol system were barely intelligent animals who needed protection from the complex realities of galactic civilization. That foundation had just crumbled. Communications Officer Hai Jin activated her translation systems and began broadcasting selected alien transmissions to the human command staff. The voices came from across the galaxy, and everyone carried the same tone of desperate confusion. "This is impossible," came the voice of a Vorthak military commander. "Our intelligence reports said humans had no space technology. How do they have ships that can destroy entire fleets?" "The Nexari Council is in emergency session," reported another voice. "They're debating whether to recall all exploration vessels and seal the borders. Kellyan Central Command is requesting immediate analysis of all human technology samples. They want to know how we missed this." But the most telling transmission came from a species humanity had never heard of before. If the humans have been hiding this level of technology for 3 centuries, what other species have we underestimated? What else don't we know? That question was spreading through the galaxy like a virus, destroying the confidence that held alien civilization together. Dr. Sang-woo appeared on the command screens from his research facility beneath the Pacific. "The psychological warfare campaign is exceeding all expectations," he reported. "Alien governments are starting to question everything they know about galactic intelligence. Some species are even beginning to reanalyze their own technology to see if they've been making the same mistakes they made with us." "What kind of mistakes?" asked Admiral Hyunwoo. "Assumptions," Sang-woo replied. "They assumed that advanced technology had to follow certain patterns. They assumed that younger species couldn't improve on older designs. They assumed that 300 years wasn't enough time for a species to develop from primitive to advanced. And now they're realizing that every assumption might be wrong. The economic collapse was spreading faster than the military defeat. Alien corporations that had spent centuries trading in primitive human curiosities discovered that their entire business model was based on lies. If humans weren't primitive, then human artifacts weren't curiosities. They were advanced technology that alien scientists hadn't understood." Yoonji pulled up financial reports from across the galaxy. "The Galactic Trade Federation has suspended all operations pending a complete review of their classification systems. 17 major banks have stopped all lending because they can't assess risk anymore. If humans could hide this level of advancement, what other investments might be completely worthless?" But the collapse went deeper than economics or military strategy. It was philosophical. The Galactic Council had been built on the idea that older species were wiser and more advanced than younger ones. The entire structure of galactic civilization depended on this hierarchy. Older species guided younger ones, protected them, and gradually introduced them to advanced technology when they were ready. Humanity had just proven that the entire system was meaningless. "We're receiving diplomatic communications," reported Heejin. 47 species have requested immediate diplomatic contact with Earth. They're not demanding anything. They're begging for meetings. "What are they saying?" asked Admiral Hyunwoo. Heejin activated her translation systems. The messages came in dozens of different languages, but the meaning was always the same. Please don't hurt us. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session, she continued. They're debating whether to offer Earth immediate full membership, unrestricted access to all galactic territories, and compensation for 3 centuries of wrongful imprisonment. Admiral Hyun-woo smiled coldly. Too little, too late. The most important effect wasn't happening in government chambers or military command centers. It was happening in the minds of ordinary aliens across the galaxy. Parents looked at their children and wondered what other species they had been wrong about. Scientists questioned research that had seemed certain for millennia. Military officers stared at their fleets and wondered if their weapons would be useless against enemies they hadn't properly understood. Captain Minho reported from the Leviathan's bridge, where human crews monitored the continuing chaos. Sir, we're tracking alien ship movements across 36 systems. Every single fleet is returning to defensive positions around their home worlds. No one is conducting offensive operations anymore. They're afraid, observed Admiral Hyun-woo. More than afraid, corrected Dr. Sang-woo. They're paralyzed. They don't know what they don't know, and that's the most terrifying thing possible for a civilization that thought it understood the universe. The paralysis was spreading through every level of alien society. Scientists stopped their research projects because they couldn't trust their assumptions. Military planners abandoned invasion plans because they couldn't assess enemy capabilities. Diplomats refused to negotiate because they didn't know who they were really dealing with. We're getting reports from our monitoring stations, said Yoonji. 3 alien governments have collapsed completely, not from invasion or war, from internal political pressure. The populations have lost confidence in leaders who could make such a catastrophic mistake about humanity. Which governments? Asked Admiral Hyun-woo. The Kellyan Republic dissolved 4 hours ago. The Nixari Collective is splitting into faction states. The Vorthak Empire just announced the exile of their entire intelligence service. But the most significant development was something no one had expected. Sir, reported Hye-jin urgently, we're receiving a communication request from the Keeper delegation. They want to speak directly with Earth's leadership. The command center fell silent. The Keepers were the oldest known species in the galaxy, so ancient that even the Vorthak Empire treated them with reverence. They rarely spoke to anyone, and they had never initiated direct contact with humanity. Put them through, ordered Admiral Hyun-woo. The screen flickered, and for the first time in human history, a Keeper appeared on a direct communication channel. The being was difficult to look at directly. It seemed to exist partially in normal space and partially in dimensions humans couldn't perceive. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of geological ages. We greet the children of Earth, the Keeper said in perfect English. We have watched your species for 3 centuries waiting for this moment. You knew, Admiral Hyun-woo said. It wasn't a question. We knew, the Keeper confirmed. Your species exhibits patterns we have seen only twice before in galactic history. You are what we call an exponential civilization, one that appears primitive until it reaches a critical threshold, then advances beyond all prediction. Why didn't you warn the other species? The Keeper's form shifted in ways that suggested amusement. Some lessons cannot be taught, they must be experienced. The galaxy needed to learn humility. Your species was the teacher we had been waiting for. What happens now? Asked Admiral Hyun-woo. Now the galaxy rebuilds itself around a new understanding of intelligence and advancement. The old hierarchies are gone. The assumption that age equals wisdom has been shattered. Every species must now prove its worth rather than claiming it by birthright. And humanity? Humanity will find that being at the top of the galaxy brings its own challenges. Power without restraint corrupts even the most noble species. Your real test begins now. The communication ended, leaving the human command staff in stunned silence. Sir, said Captain Minho from the Leviathan, what are our orders? Admiral Hyun-woo looked at the tactical displays showing alien fleets cowering around their homeworlds. He saw economic reports showing the collapse of trade networks that had existed for millennia. He watched news broadcasts from 100 worlds as alien populations struggled to understand their new reality. We wait, he said finally. Let them come to us. Let them figure out what they're willing to offer for our protection." "Protection? From what?" asked Yunji. "From us?" Admiral Hyunwoo replied. "The galaxy has just learned that they've been completely wrong about the most basic assumptions of their civilization." 6 months after the day Earth raised the Leviathan, President Chanyang walked through the corridors of humanity's new orbital station above Earth. The station was built from materials freely given by 12 different alien species, not as tribute, but as desperate offerings of friendship. Outside the station's windows, alien ships waited in organized lines for permission to approach Earth. Each vessel carried diplomats, traders, or scientists, hoping to establish peaceful relations with humanity's new galactic empire. The same species that had once considered humans primitive pets now competed for the honor of serving humanity's interests. "Status report," Chanyang said to her aide as they entered the main command center. 47 species have submitted applications for protected status under human oversight," replied the aide, checking his tablet. "The Vorthak Empire has offered to share their complete crystal technology database. The Nexari Collective wants to establish a permanent embassy in Earth orbit. The Kellians are requesting permission to rebuild their government according to human political principles. And the others? Still waiting for our response. No one wants to make any major decisions without human approval anymore." Chanyang looked at the diplomatic schedule displayed on the main screen. Every time slot for the next 3 months was filled with alien delegations seeking audiences with human representatives. Species that had once ignored humanity's existence now waited weeks just for the chance to speak with junior human diplomats. The transformation was complete. Admiral So Young appeared on the communication screen from the Leviathan's bridge. The massive ship now served as humanity's mobile embassy, traveling between star systems to establish the new galactic order. Wherever the Leviathan appeared, local governments immediately pledged cooperation and offered resources. "We've just finished negotiations with the Outer Rim Coalition," So Young reported. 17 species have agreed to our new trade regulations. They're also requesting human advisors to help rebuild their military forces." "Military advisors?" Chanyang asked. "For what purpose?" "They're afraid," So Young explained. "If they were wrong about humanity, they might be wrong about other species too. They want human protection because we're the only ones who proved we can properly assess galactic threats." It was exactly as Admiral Hyunwoo had predicted. The galaxy's confidence in its own judgment had been so thoroughly shattered that alien civilizations no longer trusted themselves to evaluate potential dangers. They needed humanity to tell them what was safe and what was threatening. "Any resistance to the new arrangements?" asked Chanyang. "None. 3 civilizations attempted to form an anti-human alliance last month, but it collapsed when the other members started suspecting each other of being secretly advanced species in disguise. The paranoia was spreading faster than any military conquest could have achieved. Alien species looked at their neighbors and wondered what technologies might be hidden beneath seemingly primitive exteriors. Old alliances crumbled as former partners questioned whether they had ever really known each other. Captain Kyungmin's voice came through the communication system from his diplomatic ship in the Andromeda sector. "President, I'm transmitting my report from the Galactic Council Reformation meetings. The Galactic Council had been dissolved and reformed 3 times in 6 months. Each new version tried to create structures that could prevent another catastrophic mistake like the one made about humanity. The latest version had given humans permanent veto power over all major decisions, and established Earth as the final authority on questions of species intelligence and technological assessment." "How did the vote go on the new exploration protocols?" asked Chanyang. "Unanimous approval," Kyungmin reported. "All new species contacts must be evaluated by human experts before any assumptions are made about their technological level. No species can be classified as primitive without human confirmation. And the reparations? The payment schedule has been extended, but no species is objecting. The Vorthak Empire delivered another shipment of rare elements yesterday. The Nexari have provided complete energy manipulation techniques. Even species we've never directly encountered are sending gifts hoping to avoid human displeasure. The wealth flowing into human space was unprecedented, not because humanity demanded tribute, but because alien species were desperate to prove their friendship. Every civilization in the galaxy had suddenly realized they might need human protection someday. Dr. Hei-Wan entered the command center carrying reports from her new position as Minister of Galactic Affairs. The job hadn't existed 6 months ago because humanity had never needed to manage galactic affairs. Now it was one of the most important positions in known space. "The final group is here," she announced. Former Galactic Council leaders, requesting a formal audience. "Show them in," Chan Young said. The delegation that entered was pitiful compared to the powerful council that had once ruled the galaxy. 5 beings from the most ancient and prestigious species, now reduced to begging for humanity's acceptance of their surrender. The former council speaker, a floating jellyfish-like creature, approached President Chan Young with obvious reluctance. Its voice came through mechanical translators that made every word sound apologetic. "Honored human leader, we come to formally request forgiveness for our species' errors in judgment regarding your civilization." "What exactly are you asking for?" Chan Young replied. "We offer complete submission to human authority in all matters of galactic governance. We pledge our resources, our knowledge, and our loyalty to the new order established by your species. We ask only that you allow our civilizations to continue existing under your protection." President Chan Young looked at the former galactic leaders and felt no satisfaction in their defeat. These beings had spent millennia believing they were wise and advanced, only to discover they were children playing with concepts they didn't understand. "Your submission is accepted," she said formally. "Your species will be granted protected status under human oversight. Your governments will be restructured according to human principles of competent leadership. Your military forces will be integrated into the human defense network." "And in return?" asked the former speaker. "In return, you will be protected from threats you cannot properly evaluate, guided away from mistakes you cannot anticipate, and included in a galactic civilization that actually understands what intelligence means." The delegation left with expressions that the translators identified as profound relief. Even complete surrender to humanity was better than facing the unknown galaxy without human guidance. "Ma'am," said Dr. Hei-Wan quietly, "there's something else. We've received a communication from the deep galaxy exploration fleets." "What did they find?" 3 species that were previously unknown to galactic civilization. All 3 have been classified as primitive by standard alien evaluation methods. President Chan Young understood immediately. "And you want to make contact before the other species jump to conclusions?" "Exactly. We can't let the galaxy make the same mistake again. If these new species are actually advanced civilizations in disguise, we need to know before someone tries to protect them the way they tried to protect us." "Approved. Send the diplomatic contact ships immediately." As Dr. Hei-Wan left to organize the contact missions, President Chan Young returned to the window overlooking Earth. Below, the planet looked peaceful and unchanged, but everything else was different. Humanity had spent 3 centuries caged like animals, studying their captors and preparing for freedom. Now they were free, and the captors had become the caged ones, trapped by their own fear of making another catastrophic mistake. The galaxy had learned its lesson, but the lesson wasn't about underestimating primitive species. The real lesson was about the danger of assumptions, about the arrogance of believing that age meant wisdom, that familiar patterns meant predictable outcomes, that the universe could be understood through simple hierarchies. In schools across hundreds of worlds, alien children now learned new subjects: human history, human technology, and human strategic thinking. They studied the species that had turned 3 centuries of imprisonment into the foundation for galactic dominance. But the most important subject was called the dangers of certainty. It taught young aliens that confidence without evidence was the deadliest mistake any civilization could make. That every unknown species, every unexplored world, every strange phenomenon could be hiding something that would change everything. President Chan Young smiled as she watched another alien delegation dock with the orbital station. These beings had once ruled the galaxy with absolute confidence in their own superiority. Now they waited patiently for human permission to exist. The cage was gone, the galaxy was open, and humanity was finally free to show the universe what they were truly capable of. As she prepared for the next diplomatic meeting, President Chan Young reflected on the strange journey that had brought her species from prisoners to rulers. The aliens had been right about one thing. Humanity had needed time to mature before joining galactic civilization. They had just been wrong about which direction that maturity would take. The galaxy had expected humans to become more like them, wise, careful, and predictable.